cutest thing ever. So welcome everybody. Happy Monday, happy Memorial Day, or should we not say happy Memorial Day? Welcome to Memorial Day. I don't know what to say.
I don't know the correct term, but it's an observance, not a celebration.
Gotcha. So this week, you guys, my friends in the U.S. have a holiday, and last week we had a holiday on the Monday. So, and it's funny because what the people in the chat don't know is that I originally scheduled Deb for last Monday, and then I wrote you and said, "Oh my gosh, it's a holiday," and I totally forgot. And can you come on the 29th? And then I don't know, it was like Saturday, it occurred to me that I'm like, oh my gosh. So I asked you not to come on my holiday, and now I'm asking you to come on your holiday. So sorry about that.
Well, it happens.
So friends, this is the wonderful and fantastic Deb H, aka Purple Elephant. This is her gorgeous, adorable puppy, Monkey. Let's just stare at Monkey for a moment, shall we?
Monkey thinks he's always part of the show.
Well, of course.
And my cat is making an appearance tonight, too. He hardly ever makes an appearance. That's Willie back there.
Hi, Willie. Charlotte is right there in the corner by the door there. And Charlotte is gone. She's like, don't talk about me. Unless she's going to come up the side here. Nope, she's laying down. So, friends, we're here.
I tell you, Kelly, it's starting to rain very heavy right now. So hopefully I will stay on here.
It's all good. I mean, I hope that you stay on too, but if, the weather takes you away, do let us know that you're okay.
Yes, I will.
Oh my gosh, friends. So we are here. This is the Dozen Cats Chats. This is where myself and a guest, or just me sometimes, talk about things that I think are important, are interesting, in hopes that we can have an informed, interactive conversation. And when we leave here, be better for it. So we're here to talk about communication. And there is no better person that I know in this community to talk about communication with than Miss Deb. So
well, I appreciate that, Kelly. I really do.
You have a way about you, my friend, that makes people want to listen to you. You have a way of expressing yourself in a very kind and compassionate, but I want to say almost authoritative way. Like it's almost like you demand attention from your audience, and that has nothing to do with your career in writing, which is actually why I think that I want you here. You know what I mean? Because you can speak to this with some actual knowledge.
Well, I appreciate that. I have observed communication for over 60 years and seen how people communicate with each other.
We can hear the rain. Holy cow.
It's pretty heavy.
My goodness.
It's just rain, though, so that's good.
Yeah. Holy moly, friends. Well, I almost feel like I need to put up an umbrella because it's raining so hard at her house. My goodness.
I know it's raining in Texas and you can feel it in Canada.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's say hi to a few folks that are here in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We have Deb H is in the chat. Hi, Deb. How you doing?
Well, thank you.
Miss Sharon Sipe, Moderator of the Year of 2023. Congratulations, Sharon Sipe, and thank you, my friend, for all that you do for all of our channels. Vivian is in the house, and thank you, Vivian, for all that you do in all the channels, moderating and just being who you are. We have Teresa in the house. We have Akila. We have Esther G. We have Kay Muldoon in the house. We have Miss Sylvia in the house. We have Ocean Garnett here. We have Mr. Gerald. I was on a show one time with Gerald, and I can't remember who it was, but they had come in and called him Sir Gerlad, I think it was, and that was it. That was his name for the whole entire show. And I always think when I go to say Gerald's name that I'm going to say it wrong because I'm trying not to say it wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Who else is here? Gina M is here. Ocean Garnett. Lauren Hunsinger is here. MK Karen, hello, my friend. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. My husband is in the house. Obviously, he's in the house, but he's in the chat. Is what I meant. Sorry, the heat has affected my little brain. So Jay Marcus is in the house. Thank you, Jay, for being here. I just want to say, so for all of you that come to my channel, that have a blue wrench, that moderate, just sort of mimicking the words of, what was happening on Saturday on Kevin's channel. Thank you so much for everything that you do, because you really do help take a lot of stress and a lot of worry away from the content creators and allow us to do what we're doing. And if it wasn't for you, the broadcast wouldn't run as smooth as they do. I also want to say thank you to everyone who comes into the chat, who helps the show along, because without you, this doesn't work. We can't really come up here and do readings, for example, or have a chat by ourselves without the interaction and the shared information and experiences from everyone in the chat. So thank you so much for everything that you do. All your support is greatly appreciated. Don't ever stop doing it, because it's very powerful. Just saying hi to someone could literally change someone's day. It could save a life. So don't ever stop doing it. All right. With that being said, let's get started. No, sorry.
Can I just add something, Kelly, to what you just said? Right now, it's our job to just be here and be in public and let our light shine. Just go about doing things that we normally do and being ourselves. That's our job right now, because by just doing that, we can raise vibrations.
Absolutely. We're all about raising vibrations, are we not? I love to raise vibrations. All right, so let us start off here. What does communication mean to you?
It's a way of being able to convey thoughts and emotions from one person to another, or one person to several others. Right. So it can be done by speaking, by writing, by typing, by thinking. We can convey many things by facial expressions. Everything that we do in our in the way that we present ourselves is part of our communication.
It's so funny when you said that. I was literally thinking to myself, my husband would say that I convey things with my eyes because I have the gift that my mother gave me, which is that look. And don't you mess with that look. No. Don't make me say it out loud, because you know what I'm thinking.
Exactly.
that look. See, now I think of communication where it is a way of me being able to connect, which is no different than what you said. I'm just using different words. And I think the greatest form of communication is, like, for example, when you walk up to a random person, in the grocery store who has a little baby in the cart or a baby in the stroller who doesn't say anything. And you just sort of, reach out and they sort of attach themselves to your hand or to your finger or whatever. And you can see their face light up, and then your face lights up. It's very contagious to me, that kind of innocent connection and through that communication.
Yes.
And, it's the same for animals. It's also the same for, I don't know why this is making me so emotional. I am a mess, friends. What can I tell you? And I know that we share this, this sort of commonality between the two of us. When I used to work in the group home, nobody there was verbal, and none of them understood sign language. So communication had to be a dedicated craft that we were very individualized with, because each person had their own sort of way that they could understand what we were trying to convey. And that communication, I think that's why I think of it in terms of like connecting to my heart, like more in the feels than the actual, words. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. My son, is disabled and lives in one of those group homes. And he's very often with housemates that are nonverbal.
Right.
And growing up, he had classmates and friends that were nonverbal. So you do have to learn that even if you speak, to be measured, to have an even tone, and try to convey by the tone of your voice as much as everything else, your facial expression, your hands, whatever that you're using to convey what the message that you want to convey. So whatever you're wanting the recipient of the communication to understand.
Right.
And so there are many ways to communicate. And touch is one of the strongest forms of communication.
Yeah. It reminds me of a story, if I may share. It doesn't really shine a light well on myself or the other people that were involved, I have to say. But one of those moments where you needed to be taught a lesson, and it was like a divine intervention kind of like hit us. So we were having a staff meeting at the group home, and I worked with everyone that was in my house was a high medical needs person. So they were, and I don't like to use these words, so they were low functioning and basically on death's doorstep, and they were brought to that house so that they could be closer to their family. So it was an intense set of circumstances for all parties concerned. And we were having a staff meeting one day. It was in the middle of the winter, freezing cold, of course, because we live in Canada. Why wouldn't it be? And we kept one of the people home because it was just too cold. And she's in a wheelchair, and she cannot move any part of her body except for one arm. She has about 35% range of motion, and her head goes from like shoulder to shoulder. She's nonverbal, and she was in the room while we were talking, and we were saying something about we're going to stop doing whatever it was that we were going to stop doing, that we didn't think that it was a benefit, some little program that we had started in the house. And there was about 6 or 7 of us, and we were all just like talking at each other, sharing ideas and brainstorming and whatever. The point is that someone who was the recipient or the benefactor of those programs was sitting right there, that we could have asked. We could have communicated with her, but we chose not to. We treated her as if she wasn't in the room. And she let us know it. And all of a sudden, she just let out this, we were all like, what was that? Some of us laughed, some of us cried. And it was one of those really, really important lessons to sort of relearn not to take things for granted and to remember sort of your environment that you're in, right?
Yes.
Because you cannot just assume that someone heard you. You can't just assume that someone would know what you meant.
Yes.
right? And we discounted her. I felt horrible. I was so inspired by her letting us, like she schooled us. She sat us down and took us to task, and I love it. So I wanted to share that.
I have observed that on several occasions, not just with my son, but with my mom. When my mom was ill for a while, she was near the end, she was in a coma.
Right.
In a coma. She could still hear everything. She
Absolutely.
understood everything that was going on. And so when family members came into the room to discuss her, I had to show them the door because she heard everything they said. And she comprehended and understood whatever they were talking about. Same thing with my son and other kids that he was with growing up. Just because they're nonverbal doesn't mean they don't understand what's going on.
Yes.
And my son is verbal, but he wasn't verbal until he was 4 years old. So, and when he started to speak, it was complete sentences. so he had all that up inside of him waiting to come out.
Right.
People, even to this day, will talk over him like he doesn't understand what's going on. And he will say, "Excuse me, I'm right here."
I totally dig it. I love that.
So it's never assume that someone that appears to be either not listening, not understanding, doesn't know exactly what's going on.
Yeah. I think as human beings, we have it. If we're not aware, like if it's a stranger, for example, say you're a cashier at a store, and a person comes up, or a salesperson at a store, and a person comes up and asks you a question, or is standing in front of you, and you say like, did you find everything that you're looking for? And they just kind of look at you blank. I think as human beings in that situation, we have a tendency to sort of panic, especially if there's like a lineup of people, right? The manager's looking over your shoulder, they're watching you. Your job is to get things happening. So I think we have a tendency to almost panic a little bit, and that's when we're like, "Excuse me, sorry, what?" You know what I mean? And we're not watching the cues that are being given to us for other ways to communicate, right? Because of my experience in the group home, I was downtown in the city. We had a horrible ice storm, and there was like, a 9,000 car pileup on the highway. Like basically every half mile, there was like 8 cars in a collision. And so here in Ontario, we have these collision reporting centers. Don't get me started. That's a whole other show, friends. But anyway, so you all go to this place. You don't get the police involved. You don't do any of that kind of nonsense. You just all go there. And they have uniformed police officers there where you can tell your story to if it is necessary. And it's to basically keep them off the street and have them fighting actual crime, right? So there we are in the reporting collision center, and this man is at the counter, and he is deaf, and he is trying to communicate, and I don't know what made me do it. I don't know how I knew to do it. I just went over and I said, "Can I help you?" And it was like he knew that I got it. And I don't know how that I got it, other than my experience from working in the group home, that I had just a different understanding than the average person.
Right.
Meaning I had experience is what I meant.
In
And so
that
anyways,
area, yes.
I got out my notebook and so I helped him communicate with the person at the counter so he could tell his story and give all of his information. And I thought, how sad. Because we think we're so evolved, speaking of communication being a lost art. Why? Because technology has sort of, taken it and gone right across it. And we have a tendency to think that we're so evolved, but really we're not that evolved.
Right.
Right. But again, that could have been because the person that was serving him at the counter was panicked, because there was like sardine cans packed in there, and that could have been the reason, or just not picking up on the cues. I was just glad that I was there to assist. But that's another example of how you can miss something that's like right in front of you, right?
Absolutely. I was in a fast food restaurant one day.
Aspasia Rising. Hi, Beth. She says, how can any human think we're evolved? Seriously.
Really. I was in a fast food restaurant one day, and I was at the counter picking up my order, and a disabled man walked up next to me, and he was having some difficulty. And so I didn't ask him, did he need help? I just did some stuff for him.
Yeah.
Just common courtesy,
Yeah.
Helped him get his drink, helped him carry his order, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I went back, and all this time I had left my order on the counter. And so I went back to pick up my things. And the counter girl thanked me because she was behind the counter and she couldn't come out and do that.
Right.
But I knew that. I saw it happening.
Yes.
So, and it's, if you take the initiative to just see something that needs to be done to help someone,
yes,
that's a huge part of communication.
Yeah.
And letting people know that they're not alone. Somebody sees them and thinks they're valuable.
Hypnocity is reading your mind, and mine too, because I was literally thinking the same thing. She says, I think we could be more evolved if we had more compassion, which is just what Deb was saying. If we see something that needs attention, that needs a different perspective, a different approach, why not let it be you that does it? I think because we are so caught up in our busy life and are, going to 98 things at once, or going in 98 different directions at once, that we have a tendency to, like not see past here.
Yes.
Right. We don't sort of look out the rear view mirror, so to speak. Right.
That's so true, because we only see what's in our scope to see.
Yeah.
So an example of that is when my son was small, he's quadriplegic. So I'm here with a largest child who is either in a wheelchair or I'm carrying him, depending on where we are and how I need to. The only people that helped me were pregnant people and young mothers.
Yeah.
Because they saw it, because they were experiencing it.
Exactly.
So if you've got your head down and you're just walking past everybody and trying to get to your next destination, you miss so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you're just, head down and swiping right, or like me and try to swipe left and think that that's my right. I'm just saying that's the truth. I'm so lost. It's ridiculous. And it's funny because this isn't what this topic is about, but in terms of the technology, right? So when I got my new phone, which is not new by any stretch of the imagination, with all of the bells and whistles on it, because I went from a flip phone to this.
Yes.
I was like, I fought it tooth and nail. I don't need all that. It's totally stupid, blah, blah, blah. I was like,
I still fight it.
I probably use like 3 features on my phone, and I still don't understand how anyone operates without a PC. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. I try to use a laptop, and I'm like, it takes me 9 minutes to scroll down a page. I'm like, oh my God, how? Like, I don't adapt well to technology. So I try to stay away from it. I try to stay away from it. But I wonder what you guys think, if you think that technology has interfered with our ability to communicate with others, whether it be, sending a letter, making a phone call, just checking in with people, or having like a really sort of, heart to heart, in depth, back and forth kind of conversation. maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's taking a course, trying to learn something new. Do you guys think that technology has sort of hindered that for you?
Um,
I think that it has hindered conversation for
yeah,
me mostly. And I
conversation and
noticed that.
compassion.
Yeah, I noticed that when I don't I love to watch people. I don't know if I've told you guys that before or not. I'm a people watcher because I'm totally into why people do what they do. And what I think is super interesting is imagine you're at the restaurant and you're looking around the room as one does when one can't smoke in a restaurant anymore, because you're waiting for your food before you dodge outside to have a smoke. I'm just being honest. And you look across the restaurant and you see that family over there, and all of their heads are down. No one's saying a word, nothing's happening. And you ever notice that when you go in a restaurant now, there's no noise in the restaurant. All you can hear is knives and forks and plates. There's no speaking. Nobody's talking. Unless it's parents yelling at their kids. There's nobody talking. Do you ever notice that?
I think that technology has damaged our ability to speak one-on-one, especially people that grew up with abbreviations the way that you do in a text. I still don't abbreviate in text. I still write out almost everything because that's what generation I came from.
Yeah. Yes, I am guilty. I text like I talk. Just FYI, don't ever want to get a text from me. Like my nieces are like, all of these abbreviations, call me tomorrow, and mine's like 9 screens long, like I've been there for 20 minutes. Hold on a minute. Yeah.
And Beth, Espacio Rising, that is absolutely true. It is a tool.
Yes.
And we are responsible for how we interact with it.
Yeah. It's so funny, Ocean Garnet. I'm cracking up over. I love my mouse because I am so, it now. So that takes me to another point. And I know that we've all been there. At least I hope to God I'm not the only person that's arrived at this spot. Please tell me I'm not. I don't like to be the only one out on the plank. We've all been there where someone has phoned us, neighbor, mom, friend, whatever, and said, I can't get my converter to work. My laptop's all messed up. Like I call my husband at work and go, honey, I don't know what I did, but my screen is now sideways and I'm trying to move the mouse like this, but it's across. Like, I don't know what I did. And you're like, sure, no problem. I can help. And you actually are able to help because it's something that you actually know how to do. But if you were to sit and think about it, you don't think that you have any technology sort of in your toolbox. And I find it interesting in terms of the conversation we're having because I fight technology with everything that I have because I don't want to lose the ability to write and communicate. I like to turn the pages of a book. I like to read the pages of the newspaper. I like the sound of the video cassette, going through. Like I like all that stuff. I like to have a phone call every once in a while. I love to get letters in the mail. But it's so much easier to just pick up your phone and be like, yep, hold on, there's the answer.
That's what it is. It's the convenience factor.
Yeah.
And so once we get in that kind of taking that to the next level and being immersed in it,
right,
then all of a sudden we become anonymous.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal if we insult that person or say something derogatory to that person because they're not a person. They're just an avatar on a screen.
Right.
They're not real. So I think that that is where we need to reassess our relationship with technology, is when we allow the person on the other side of the screen to become an object and stop being a person, then that's where we lose
Yeah.
the
I think that's
ability to communicate.
great. That's a great point. That's a great point. And I also like what Aspasia Rising said. For older people, technology takes a lot of patience. We can figure it out, but we didn't grow up with it, so we're at a
Yeah.
disadvantage.
Yeah.
My mom, I mean, it became like a family joke. Sorry, mom. Like, don't turn my lights out or anything. But it became like a family joke that her husband's fingers were too fat for the keyboard. That was the excuse. So when something went wrong, she would phone us up and complain that she'd been on, tech support hotline for like 3 hours, and she's like ready to rip her hair out of her head because they're speaking in some kind of language that she doesn't understand. And she'll say, well, because you're like, well, what happened? Maybe I can help. Well, I don't know what happened. He just, his fingers are so fat and he hit the keyboard and all hell broke loose. And it's like, okay, we can try to figure it out. And you kind of giggle to yourself, not that they were having that trouble, but that they would get so upset about it.
Yes.
And now I find myself in the same spot.
Yes.
Now I find I'm behind. Like when I started the channel, I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, friends, do a short. What the hell? I mean, I was born short. That's all I know about a short. You know what I mean? And it's not complicated, but I'm making it like it's like I've had to, I got to stand on my nickel and spit nickels out my forehead. It's like, good grief. It's a lot.
It is. I am totally right there with you. I had never turned on the camera on my computer until I decided to try to upload a video.
Right.
I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to turn the camera on.
You know what's funny about that is, I mean, we could probably write a book about some of the antics that we have had in terms of running these channels. I mean, the first time I ever seen a computer, like live in person in front of me, and I'm aging myself, friends, is when my parents bought us the Commodore 64.
Yeah, I remember those.
And the only thing that the Commodore 64, like the big hype about the Commodore 64, was to get to the highest level. And when you got to the highest level, you could make it sing. And then nothing. So we got to the highest level and we made it sing, and then it was junk. So, but then my dad went to an auction sale and bought us this big, ginormous, I mean, it was like 3 feet wide, old cash register / posting machine that was on auction from like the local hospital or something. Well, I tell you, we plugged that thing in the garage, and myself and my friends had an absolute blast because we just wanted to touch buttons. So that's what we did. Rather than looking at the computer, we played on that old cash register.
When I was a kid, we had a big kid. I was like 12, 13, 14. The first computer that we had at school was one of those old ones that didn't do anything except you could program it to make pictures with X's.
Right.
And we had it in math class, and we could do boring math stuff on it, or we could program it to make a picture with X's. Yeah. And that was the big thing that we did with it. That's what they did.
Yeah.
In the 70s, it was not a lot.
Now, here is something that's interesting about that. And I've told the story before. It seems appropriate now. There was no reason for me to tell it before. Now that it seems appropriate for the conversation, so I'll throw it in. Okay. So there I am at work on a Friday afternoon, and I work in a pretty old school kind of atmosphere, right? Y'all know what I mean by old school, right? And one of the ladies decided on a Friday afternoon that she thought it was a great idea to play bingo via email. And of course, we weren't allowed to be playing bingo via email or otherwise. And so we had to do it on the down low, right? On the sly. Until someone yelled out bingo from their desk. That was the end of our bingo days at the office. But at first, it was really exciting. You know, we have all been introduced to different technology where we've thought it was really exciting. And you kind of get a little bit almost like addicted to it because it's something brand spanking new, right? And you can work it. You're like, wow, this seems really easy. Now, I'm self-taught on a computer. I never took a computer course in my life. I'm self-taught. My husband's self-taught. Now, I can make a spreadsheet, and I'm thrilled. But I can't design a website. My husband can, you know, because we had to learn different things. So whenever I have a computer problem, I'm just like, honey, right? And he comes and assists. Now, here's what I want to talk about. I want to sort of move away from the computer part, although it is still important because in this community, we rely on communication in the chat.
Digital communication, which is completely new ball game. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, whether you're chatting from your phone or your iPad or your PC or you're doing hands-free, and which I don't even understand that, but we'll save that for another, episode 2. I don't even know what that is, but do you feel in the chat that things are lost in translation between what you're trying to convey, what's in your mind, what you want to say, and you're trying to type it out as fast as you can, and then there's all these typos or autocorrect decides that no, you didn't mean gas, you meant some other word. You know what I mean? What do you guys think about that? Because that annoys the bejeebers out of me, that I'm trying to convey my thoughts about a particular thing. Or if I spell someone's name wrong, like I feel terrible.
I do too.
And then I'm trying to oops, sorry, and I screw that up. And I'm just like, every time I try to correct it, I make it worse than the time that it was before. Oh, I get so upset with that. I don't think
that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I have the same experience, Kelly. If I'm trying to say something I feel like is important at the time.
Yeah.
And it comes out like a QWERTY, instead of words.
when slow mode is on and you're like, you go into the chat and you're trying to say hi and 58 people are saying hi to you and you're like, oh my God, I can't. And it makes me upset that I can't, when I feel like I can't communicate how I want to, I feel upset because, as you all know, the chat is, I'm not trying to be a rhymer here, but the chat's where it's at. That's what I think. I wear Chatter as a badge of honor. That's where it came from, out of the chat. So chat is important to me. And I feel some sort of way when I can't get in there and do my thing. I want to say. So
I feel that way sometimes. I think a lot of us feel that way. It's right now, it's the only thing we have to really be able to try to communicate when someone's on screen and we're trying to make ourselves understood or known. It's really all we have at this point until the next development in technology.
Right. I want to talk
about the new developments in technology are good.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're not always good at using them.
I would like to say that half of them, I don't know what they do, and I don't understand the apps and all this other kind of jazz. And I'm not in any way trying to, like, for entertainment purposes only, and just for this conversation. So no shade or hate being thrown here.
No.
It's like, I understand Facebook, because Facebook's been around long enough for me to have used it. I don't understand Pinterest at all. I like it. I can see the pictures.
Yeah.
But as to what else I'm supposed to do with it, all I seem to do is have 5,000 million windows open with another picture behind it. I don't know. How do I get the information about the picture? That's what I'm trying to get. YouTube, I know how to work. Thank you, YouTube. Love you. And TikTok, I mean, it makes no sense to me at all.
Me.
Even Instagram, I don't fully. I mean, I'm on Instagram because I was told that that's what I'm supposed to do. And when my niece sent me a message and said, "Wow, good video, Kelly, I'm proud of you," I was like, "Well, I guess I did it right, because A, someone watched it, and B, someone said it was okay. So I guess I'm on a learning curve." But
You're on a roll, because I haven't gotten that far on it.
I don't get it. I don't know what the point is. I don't know what the purpose is. I don't like to be a follower, but I mean, that's what I was told I was supposed to do. Get your name out there. I'm like, okay, here I am. Now what? I just think it's. So I think technology, in terms of communication, has affected me in the way where I'm trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not using it to its proper advantage. I'm not using it for all the functionality that it could have. I mean, maybe it could, do the dishes for me too while it's at, and clean the cat's litter box or whatever. But I'm not using it to its full potential.
Younger people know what to do with it. I don't have access to younger people. Right. So
I think Ocean Garnett said that, right? Just grab a young person. I mean, honestly, like my niece is at 3 or 4, and we all have people in the family like this. I mean, they're like, well, we can help. It's like, how? But they can. It's amazing. It's amazing. Now, here's what the next part of this. So we've covered like how technology has developed. We've talked about being in context of chatting, and how things get taken out of context or misspelled or sort of lost in translation.
Sometimes, yes. You can't hear inflection in
Right.
a text or in the chat, or you don't know what tone someone's using when they write something. So
Unless you do laugh out loud after every single sentence that you write.
right.
I don't know about you guys. Now, I know that Deb said this. I try, to spell properly and, to form a proper sentence. And I've been told, I've actually been given crap, been given the gears, friends, for my emails. Like, not here, not within this community, but back in the day when I was working, I would get the gears from people because I sent them an email with, like, not dear sir, but hi, here's what I want to talk about. Have a nice day, and my name, because that's how I was told. It's called a semi-block letter, and or a block letter. And
yes,
they just, be here at 6, period.
No hello, no goodbye, no. Yes, I know.
Like, what is that?
Well, that's people that never learned to write a real letter, that never learned to physically write a letter. So we come from a time when we used to actually physically write letters.
Yes.
And send them in the mail and wait for an answer.
Right.
And so we had time to put in all the amenities. People are very concerned about time now.
Whoops, wrong one. Sorry. Hypnicity said emojis help some, and I totally agree with that. They do help to sort of lead the reader in the right direction. If it was lost, Do you guys remember if you watched the Ellen show? I'm sure other hosts did it, but I seen it on the Ellen show. where she would do the text that had gone wrong. You know, where the autocorrect changed some things, and it's like, you know, you think you're talking to your girlfriend, but you're talking to your grandmother or something like that. Do you remember those?
Right.
Oh my God, so funny. But I mean, you got to be careful with that stuff. That's why emojis come in handy. They can help. Nancy says, originally when I first went on computer, my youngest son helped me. Absolutely. Okay, this is exactly where I was going with that, Linda. You read my mind. I'm going to come back to that in 1 second. Aspasia says, I don't think that younger people are I don't think what younger people are doing is wrong. It's different. Communication is fluid. It's their world now, 100%.
Yeah.
Ocean Garnett says, just like I say hi there to everyone in the chat, that is how I greet the bus drivers when boarding. Hi there. Oh, well, if I could use an emoji, that is it. I love it. So when I mentioned about the letter, right, where people are just like, you know, be here at 6, period. I get a little burr up on my side. I was going to say burr up my butt, and I decided not to, and then I just told you what I was thinking. Anyway, I digress. So I feel some sort of way. I'm not going to lie. Because to me, that's just common courtesy.
Right.
Now, if we are exchanging emails back and forth, or texts, or letters, or, you know, you called me and then you had to go because it was raining, and then you called me back. We don't have to. Hi, Deb. How are you? We don't have to go through the small talk or the common courtesies. But initially,
every time.
I mean, yes, you should do that. I think that you should do that because it shows that someone else is listening to what you're saying. Yes. They are, it's almost like they answer word for, you know, like sentence or paragraph by paragraph. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe it's wrong. And it just seems like a kind way to respond or to communicate with someone.
Social norms aren't as formal as they were when we were younger. And it's acceptable to young people to interact that way. I think that being aware of who you're talking to or communicating with goes a long way to what's expected, what's the level of decorum to observe when you're speaking with somebody our age. I'm a little bit older than you, Kelly, so
oh, come on.
The decorum that goes with somebody in our age group, as opposed to the decorum that applies to people who are 20.
Right.
It's so if we're aware, they're not really being rude, they're just observing what they know.
Right. And I get that. I get that. Like my niece just texted me last night and said to me, you know, Aunt Kelly, want to catch up with you, which is lovely. I mean, made my day, not gonna lie. And, you know, when's a good day for you that we could talk? And, you know, so I wrote her back and I said whatever I thought, and
good night, Gina.
Responded, and she's just like, you know, okay, see you tomorrow. And I'm like, there's no I love you. No, I mean, she's my niece. I know she loves me, but I want to see it.
Right.
Good night, Gina. Many blessings, my love. Thank you for being here.
Let's get some rest.
Well, so I want to see it, and I know that that's on me. That's not anything that she's not doing. That's on me. But where I was going with this, so someone had mentioned before about the cursive writing. And then Beth said about the writing of letters. Now, when my grandmother passed, and I know I'm not alone, I'm sure everyone has found these types of things. Mm-hmm. We found a letter that I wrote my grandmother when I was like 7 years old. We had moved to Calgary, Alberta, from Ontario, Canada, and so we moved like 4,000 miles away, and my mom was writing her mom a letter, and I got to stick a little piece, you know, a little note in there for my Nana. in typical fashion, I complained about food. I was motivated by food then. I said that they didn't have a certain kind of pickle, which is Strubstill pickle. They didn't have bagels, and that it was very clean, and that I miss them and I can't wait for them to come visit. Because I was trying to butter her up, because I said to my mom, can you ask Nana to bring us pickles? And my mom was trying to explain that she can't travel with a jar of pickles in her luggage, and I didn't understand why.
Right.
So my mom said, if you want pickles, ask her. So I had to stick the note in to ask my Nana for pickles. But I couldn't just ask for pickles. I had to say how things were. How are you?
Yes.
Did you not understand what I mean?
It was expected.
Exactly. Well, because she's my elder and I had to be respectful.
Right.
Now, this is interesting. Nancy says, most kids don't know cursive writing. When I went to school, handwriting was a subject. Yes. Yes. What are your thoughts about expressing yourself or communicating via the written word? What are your thoughts on that? Actually writing it. As
when I
opposed
used to write, I don't write so much anymore. But when I used to write, I wrote with a pen and a paper.
Yeah.
And then I transcribed onto. Now I'm dating myself, onto a typewriter. Yes. And then I learned to transcribe onto a computer and
Right.
save it. I still don't. If I'm writing, I still have to write with a pen and a paper because that's what I learned to do.
Yeah. It's funny because I never actually thought about that part before until you just said it. I've told this many times. My father was the idea guy. Used to get up in the morning, always had a pad of foolscap, as he called it, at the table, and he would write all of his ideas down or thoughts or whatever. Sometimes he'd build a deck, whatever it was. And he always wanted to use a pencil. And I always grab a pen. I always gravitate towards a pen. It's interesting, isn't it? What is even that there are certain people that are very specific about the kind of pen or pencil that they use to write. Now, what I think is interesting is, do you think that, I think it's beautiful to visually see something in the written word. I love a newspaper. I love a book. I love the smell of a book. I love the feel of a book. Yes, Rose, a number 2 pencil. Absolutely. Grandma's old recipe cards. My mother saved all of our report cards. All of them were written.
Right.
I understand that that's not, and that's a really good point that Beth made, that's not really the way that it goes. So the kids don't really need to do that. Right. I don't know if it's nostalgia that makes me like it because it makes me feel familiar somehow, or if I feel like it's a reminder that I'm not an antique.
What Hypnicity said, handwriting engages different areas of the brain. I think that's true, that it's a more creative expression than typing. It does engage something different in our brains.
Yeah. I failed typing too, Linda. Linda said she failed typing it and shorthand.
Little did we know that we'd be typing as much as we are now.
Well, back in the day, I used to be able to type like 65, 75 words a minute. But I failed typing because I looked at my fingers. And I used to have to sit there with the piece of paper over top of my hands, and I still stared at the paper. Like, I don't know why, I just do. Whatever. Get over it. Anyway.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
oh, you used to be a newspaper journalist, except for a few of the biggies. That's an industry that went the way of the doo-doo, yeah.
Yes, it did. It did.
I used to work in a newspaper. I was the receptionist. All the little kiddos would phone in at start phoning in at like 3:00. Like, it rained, my newspaper's wet, I don't know what to do. I'm like, please hold.
Um,
It
but
was
Lord said about writing something down to remember it. You remember better if you actually write something. You remember it better.
now what's interesting about this is in contrast to what you just said. I know that if like say I was I'm trying to interpret my dream, and I'm like, oh, there it is. Type it out, Kelly, because it's way faster. I'd have to sit here at the PC though to type it out, because if you asked me to type it out on a phone or an iPad or a laptop, I'd be there till Tuesday, and
Right.
I'd on the first sentence trying to figure out how to get down to the next thing. Because this is like a typewriter, or as close to a typewriter as I'm ever going to get. If I was journaling or studying a course, writing it down, and just writing and writing and writing and writing and writing, that's what I'm remembering. But so I can get my thoughts out faster if I'm just trying to not forget anything by typing it, because I could go faster. And if I'm trying to sort of follow the bouncing ball of the written word, and I'm really trying to absorb what I'm saying, writing
Yes.
seems to be it for me.
I agree with both of your statements there, that it's faster to type, but writing really cements it in your brain.
Now that's interesting, Lauren, because that's a point that we didn't even think about, right? So having dyslexia will rarely will help. Sorry, she has dyslexia, and so she will rarely permanently remember something if she does not write it down. Interesting. Andrew says, read aloud and have a trusted person listen, and then metaphysical shifts that are profound. Interesting. Thomas says, hi, Thomas, by the way. Lots of people in the chat that I didn't say hi to. Hello.
Yes.
More hellos. Thomas says, I had to take typing in school. Now kids can 2 thumbs 75 words per minute, and I still can't type over 20, but I 10 key like a demon. Well, here's the difference, right? The difference is we type what they do, and no disrespect to them, their keyboard is not our keyboard, like a typewriter keyboard. So our words per minute and their words per minute, not at all this. It's not even on the same thing.
Right.
Can't really even compare the two.
And it's just neither one is right or wrong. It's just what we learned to do with the technology available when we were in our learning years.
Yeah.
So we can do the modern technology. It just takes us a little longer to figure it out.
Okay. We're going to just have a little bit of fun on the last few minutes, you guys.
Okay.
Now, how many of you have got the proverbial converter for the television and went to turn the TV on or off, and there's like 9 remotes sitting on the coffee table, and you can't get the flipping thing to work, whether it's on or off? How many of you have done that? How many of you had like the multitude or the variety of converters on the coffee table or whatever, and you cannot get the TV to work?
I have done that. I don't anymore, because I'm limited to one. There is one.
So my mom and I lived in 2 different places. We had the same remote, even though we had different cable companies, right? It's the same manufacturer, so the remotes work the same. And every time we would go to my mom's house for the weekend, for sure and for certain, we would come home Sunday night. On Monday afternoon or Monday night, my mother would have left a voicemail saying, I don't know what the hell you did. I can't turn the TV on. Right? And it's like, what do you mean? How can you not turn the TV on? So I just think it's funny that I've been there where we have like the 6 remotes, and it's like, oh my God, which one of these actually works? And my husband has done something out there with the TV where he's using one remote and I'm using another, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like how? And I'm like, okay, I'm just, okay, right. That's an excellent point, Shelley. Thank you for being here. Welcome. Hearing, reading, and writing are all styles of learning. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Andrew says, my mom used to say that too. Hi, Ron. Oops, sorry. That was supposed to be Cartomancy. It says, my grandkids can't function without a remote.
That's funny.
Do you all find that the remote works better when you hold on to it?
You know, there are things you can do with those old remotes too.
Like?
Metaphysical kind of things.
Like?
Like you can turn things off and on.
Great.
Turn the volume up or down.
Great. Deb and I are going to talk after. Maybe you can teach me some stuff that I'll try out. I'll let you all know how it works out. I love you. That was mean, wasn't it? Thomas says, sorry, that's funny. I put colored stickers on the remote and the corresponding colors on the device it controls. Listen,
well,
don't get smart over there, Thomas. That's a really smart.
You being organized,
right? You know, speaking of the remote things, sorry, I'm going to tell you another crazy story. We were at one of those like hotel suites, you know, where there's like a living room part and then like the bedroom is separate.
Right.
So there was a TV in the bedroom and a TV in the living room. And you just take the converter into the other room and go, and you hear the person, oh my God, the TV. It's like, I don't know what happened. Sorry. It's not at all funny, but somehow seems appropriate.
No, not at all.
Remote viewing. I love it. I love it. I love it. As Busy Rising says, that's a good idea, Thomas. Yeah, about the dots. Absolutely. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the moral to the story is, you know, communicate when you can communicate so that you are making the other person or other people's feel like they are being heard and that they are being appreciated, I want to say.
And you know, to make someone feel like they're being heard, you have to actually listen. So listening is a big part of communication, whether it's physically listening and hearing. Hearing's different than listening, or comprehending what's being written. If you're not clear about something that's being written and you've got them right there, ask for clarification.
Whoops. You guys are typing and I love the interaction every time I go to, it's like I can't communicate because I keep hitting the wrong comment. Hypnicity, meet them at their level. I mean, perfect. Meet them at their level.
On everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to meet you at your level and say thank you.
I appreciate you asking me, Kelly. I've really enjoyed this little chat.
You are most welcome anytime, my friend. I love you dearly, and I think that you are amazing, and I'm happy that I can call you my friend. So you're most welcome anytime.
I appreciate that and return the sentiment.
Sorry, look at what my husband wrote. Does selective listening count? Asking for a friend.
It does count as communication. It conveys more than you think it does.
Tell him that. Oh my God. The next chat is going to be about where did it all go wrong, friends.
Yes, yes.
All right, everybody, have yourselves a fantastic rest of your evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please do go check out Deb H's channel, Purple Elephant. Link is in the description box below the video. She is amazing, as you can all tell. What is coming up for you, Deb, that you would like the people to know about?
Tomorrow, I am going to be on Heather Indigo Jaguar's channel for a chat in the afternoon. And then in the evening, I will be on my channel, I think, with Thayer. And we will be, well, we haven't done the email thing yet, but it's our regularly scheduled mediumship show. And then I believe Thursday in the afternoon, Cartomancy Mesquite and I might be on Tara Stash's channel for
or something. Something's happening.
something woo woo and coffee club or something.
Well, there you have it, friends. So make sure that you check that out. Ron, if you're still in the chat, I sent you an email, love. When you have a chance, check that out, please. No pressure, because now everyone's heard me say it, so you have to. What is coming up for me? Angela Cartomancy Mesquite is going to join me on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be in the garden. We're going to toss some cards in the garden, or not, some crystals in the garden, to see what's ahead for the month of June. Next Monday, I have Sherry H, Voices from the Swamp, and Marina from Heart Center Tarot joining me for some hot topics. Then I have Ron and Jay, Herc213, joining me at the fire on the 9th. So make sure your bell notification is ticked off so you don't miss anything. And I think that's it. I think that's all. You got anything else?
Sounds like a full dance card.
It's always a full dance card. All right, friends.
Well, Kelly will be doing, there she is over there. Kelly will be also doing her regular readings all through the week. She will be doing those, and I might tell a story. We'll see.
Excellent. Excellent. Friends, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know whenever new videos are put up. Comments are greatly appreciated, not just for me, not just for Deb, but for all the content creators that you watch. It does help the channel in the algorithm. And if you think that there's anyone that might like the content here at Dozen Cats, send them a link, because I'm about 20 subscribers away from reaching 1,000. And we are going to have some sort of a party. And so I would appreciate a shout out if you don't mind. So with that being said, have yourself a wonderful evening. Thank you again, my friend. Appreciate you. Mwah. Blessings.